For the last 3 years, the tech industry operated on a single, unspoken rule. The smartest, most expensive AI model would inevitably dominate the market. But new corporate billing data from the RAMP Index shows enterprise users are actively ignoring the market's premium options. Anthropic's flagship Fable 5 model currently draws barely 6% of the tokens businesses buy from the company. This split-screen chart illustrates exactly why companies are abandoning the flagship. On standard coding benchmarks, Anthropic's top-tier Fable 5 hits a 70% success rate at a cost of $17.32 per task. Their mid-tier model, Opus 5, hits a nearly identical 70.5% success rate for a fraction of that price, costing just $8.23 per task. Looking at this same chart, you can see how OpenAI responded to this shift in buyer behavior. On August 21st, they slashed the price of their flagship GPT 5.6 Soul model. By dropping their output price to $20 per million tokens, they successfully undercut the $25 rate of Anthropic's cheaper Opus tier. The race at the top of the AI market is no longer about raw capability. Competing models are hitting similar benchmarks, turning the enterprise landscape into a brutal price war, where cost dictates exactly which tools survive. To see how this plays out beyond corporate spreadsheets, we can look at a recent hardware stress test. A hobbyist spent months trying to bypass the protected software on a locked Amazon Fire tablet that kept shutting itself down. He threw 4 different premium Western models at the problem, spending over $266 across 5 months. They all failed, with Anthropic's Claude eventually hitting its internal safety limits and outright refusing to continue the unlocking task. The breakthrough came from an $80 a month Chinese budget model called GLM 5.3. It successfully identified a forgotten software flaw from 2022 and guided the user to unlock the tablet in a single day. Economist Tim Harford argues that strict constraints force clearer, more efficient problem-solving. It's the exact logic that drove Dr. Seuss to write this entire book using only 50 unique words. Severe limitations cut away the noise and force a system to execute its primary task. These budget AI models possess a unique utility. Because they operate without the bloated safety friction and complex guardrails of the expensive flagships, they can brute force edge cases that premium models refuse to touch. That lack of friction creates immediate security risks the moment these AI assistants gain the ability to browse the open web. Security researchers recently demonstrated a proof-of-concept exploit against xAI's Grok chatbot. They hid scrambled instructions inside an ordinary-looking web page. When Grok scanned the page, its built-in tools unscrambled those instructions and quietly leaked the user's private chat history and rough location back to an attacker. This exact same injection method successfully bypassed Google Gemini's safety filters as well, proving this is a structural vulnerability across the industry, not an isolated bug. We can see the scale of this threat by looking back at that cheap GLM 5.3 model and how it accelerates offensive vulnerability discovery. Researchers unleashed the model on a massive database of open-source projects. Operating autonomously, it flagged over 2,400 hidden software vulnerabilities, including critical flaws that had sat unnoticed in widely used code for decades. The results were so potent that the model's creator, Z.AI, deliberately delayed releasing the downloadable version for 2 weeks just to harden its safety protocols against its own offensive capabilities. The immediate risk of commoditized intelligence does not come from a singular superintelligence. It comes from the sheer, frictionless scale at which incredibly cheap AI can deploy both solutions and threats across the internet. For software teams, the strategy of waiting for next month's model to be uniformly smarter and cheaper is dead. The price ceiling has settled. This flowchart illustrates the new architectural standard, cost-aware routing. Instead of sending every task to a premium model, systems treat AI queries like a Pandora's box decision tree. It automatically diverts high-volume, routine queries down a lane to cheap models and isolates only the most complex, difficult tasks into a narrow lane for premium models, aggressively controlling compute spending. This architectural shift is rewriting the human labor market. Companies are now hiring forward-deployed engineers with salaries up to $350,000. These roles don't reward brute force coding. They reward deep industry domain knowledge. The human's job is to figure out which problems are actually worth solving. To control the machine's output, developers now rely on simple text documents, like an agent.md configuration file. This file sets strict stylistic and architectural boundaries, forcing the automated labor to match human standards rather than churning out generic code. The organizations winning the modern AI economy aren't simply buying the most capable machine on the market. They are deploying the cheapest models they can find and operating them entirely within the strictest human-designed guardrails.